Hey everybody, John Malanka with United Patients Group. Be informed and be well. This segment is brought to you by Aspen Green. Aspen Green is just a handful of USDA certified organic hemp and CBD brands, and all of its hemp is grown from the perfect topography and climate found in Colorado. Check out why purity matters at aspengreen.com and follow them on social channels at Aspen Green CBD. Use promo code UPGCBD for 20% off. Hey everybody, John Malanka here, United Patients Group. Be informed and be well. Just had a great podcast with Mark Worcester. Many of you may know him as Nurse Mark. He's been in the industry for quite some time. He has a podcast called Nurse Mark. You can find that at nursemark.co. But he's somebody where cannabis wasn't his lifestyle. He came from the tech world. He was a Marine, but he's been battling depression as well as anxiety and other mood disorders. And he turned to cannabis and now became a cannabis nurse. And he's been helping patients all over the world, but knowledgeable guy, great guy. And I think you'll enjoy this. And so have fun. And if you have any questions, please leave a comment. We'd love to hear your comments, and subscribe to our channel. We pride ourselves on education and putting out some good information for you. And hope you like this. Have a great day. Bye-bye. And we're live. Hey, everybody. John Malanka, United Patients Group. Be informed and be well. And I have an old friend, Mark Worcester, on. How are you doing, Mark?
Hey, John. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming back. You and I have worked together before, and I wanted to get you on my podcast. And so I said, hey, let's get on here. You're helping so many people. I might as well get you here too. So let me read your impressive bio. Entrepreneur, leader, fitness guru, business life coach, healthcare professional. Mark brings his passion and joy to everything he does. How do you miss that, huh? From chairman of the board of a $20 million health services agency to certified yoga instructor to keynote speaker, Mark has accumulated an impressive array of diverse experiences, known for his charismatic
I got the energy, baby.
Leadership. Mark has led many groups to successful completion of their missions. Mark attended Regis College School of Nursing, graduating with an ASN in 2014, a BSN in 2018, while continuing to run his last company, which he twice brought to the Inc. 500 list of fastest growing companies. Congratulations on that. Upon completion of the sale of that company, Mark then turned to cannabis nursing, recognizing it as a unique opportunity to provide health healing through the use of this versatile plant. Author of Absolutely Effing Amazing, Living a Life You Love, which is an Amazon #1 bestseller. Mark is dedicated to helping everyone create a life that they love. I agree with that as well. As host of a nationally recognized Nurse Mark podcast, Mark continues to live the mantra: health, happiness, and cannabis. Ta-da, huh?
Ta-da! And I forget to mention, I'm also in a master's in medical cannabis science and therapeutics program. Going to graduate in May at the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy.
Congratulations. And isn't that the first graduating class?
So I am in the first cohort of 150 people that'll have a master's in cannabis science. And it's just such an amazing group, John.
Yeah. I recently had, when I did that summit, I had Rhea. I'm blank on her name, Rhea. I'm sorry.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Rhea is, I absolutely love her.
She's part of that first graduating class.
Yeah. Out of the Chicago area, I believe. Rhea.
Yeah. So congratulations.
Amazing. Physical therapist.
To you both. Yep. So cannabis wasn't always your life. And you, first off, everyone, Mark has a great podcast too, that I'm a fan of sharing other podcasts that are informative and helping others. And so you have quite a collection of a wide variety of guests. So if you haven't Mark's podcast, you can find it on Nurse Mark. You can find the website, nursemark.com.
Nursemark.co.
Excuse me, nursemark.co. So you can find them there, and then we can talk about the podcast as well and everything you're doing. But cannabis, as you mentioned, wasn't really your life. You went through lifelong depression and mood disorders, and that's coming up a lot. We recently had a friend of mine, Dr. Paul Bregman, on, MD, and he, unfortunately, because of bipolar and depression, and it was his grandfather had it, his father had it, he didn't know, and he wasn't diagnosed until he's 70 now, but he wasn't diagnosed till he was 41. But it affected him. He lost his job.
Yeah.
And so especially what we're going through right now with this pandemic,
Hmm.
we're, before we went live, we were talking about a year. I mean, a year has been a blink of an eye for all of us. I mean, I
Blink
can't
of an
believe,
eye.
we're coming up to Christmas right now. I can't believe New Year's and going.
Hmm.
I mean, when we hit that year mark of, wow, life changed. I mean, we
This
weren't
is a once
expecting
in a lifetime event.
life. I hope.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah.
And so some people have done some great things, either
Hmm.
rekindling with their families, staying in shape. You and I have both done
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
Congratulations. You look like I know you have dropped weight and stayed healthy. I think love, you talk about
Working it.
love. For all of you listening here, Mark's recently
I got married in a pandemic. Imagine
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so
In 30 days. That's another book coming out.
yeah,
I
I
did it
know.
in 30
I didn't know if
days,
you wanted to
man.
share that personal thing too, but
Yeah.
uh but let's talk about how you got into this and
Yeah.
um
So, yeah, John, I
and
was
sharing and
cannabis
how long
agnostic.
is the depression and
Hmm.
mood disorders, how long were you
Lifelong.
there before you kind of discovered another
Mhm.
alternative to help balance you out?
Yeah. Listen, it's lifelong. And I've had this issue, undiagnosed, untreated for a very long time. I was 25 when I first got into the mental health system. And, I literally have taken every single psychotropic medication that is available. And none of them worked with the depression that I had. So, I was on, it was trial and error for 20 years, 25 years. And I was finally able to put together a program of my own, putting everything together that I've been through: meditation, mindfulness, cognitive behavioral therapy, exercise, huge component for me, nutrition. So all of these things I had to cobble together to figure out what worked for me. And that's why I wrote the book, because, listen, there was a stigma attached to mental illness, mental health, and it doesn't need to be there. And so it's kind of funny that I'm in the cannabis space now
Yeah.
with a stigma that
Stigma,
doesn't need
yeah,
to be there, right?
yeah,
It just doesn't need to be
yeah.
there. So I'm sort of drawn to these things. But I grew up cannabis agnostic. I mean,
Yeah.
my adolescent years, there was a lot of cannabis use, and then I went into the Marines at the age of 17, and it all stopped because you just, it was randomized drug testing. I was, done with that. So for many years, I was cannabis agnostic. I didn't care if you did it. I just wasn't interested. It wasn't anything for me. As a matter of fact, up until 2016, in 2016, when Massachusetts had a referendum vote for adult use, I was part of the governor's team opposing it, because I
Wow.
was a member of the American Nurses Association in Massachusetts, and we partnered with the governor's office, and all of the input, all of the data that I was given, of course, was very negative about
Yeah.
cannabis. And
And now
here I
you're
am a
here.
year later,
Yeah.
end of 2017, selling my business, and I was introduced to cannabis in a different way. And frankly, what happened was I fell in love with an amazing entrepreneur in Brooklyn, New York. I sold my last business, which was in the tech space, and I was going into nursing. And I knew that I didn't want to do one-on-one direct care, because I want to affect the health of millions of people.
Yeah.
And so I was looking for what that was going to be. And I connected with her, and she actually had started a CBD company several years prior, and she was, very knowledgeable and just a talented entrepreneur. And so I started to realize I didn't have a business. I was with her. I dove into her business, and we worked together. And the more I looked at what really cannabis could do, the more I was absolutely floored at the possibilities. And that started my journey. And that's, that relationship didn't work out, unfortunately, or
Yeah.
fortunately. Life works out. I'm married to the
Yeah, I
person
know,
I
huh?
should be. I mean, I really do have the most amazing life, and I love every single second of it. But it started my journey in cannabis, and I traveled the world, literally traveled the world, attending medical cannabis conferences, seeking out the cutting edge research that's been done literally for the past 50 years. And so once I was exposed to the real information to that wasn't, sponsored by our government over the last 50 years, once I really understood, what cannabis is truly all about, I have been in this space of advocacy and really this passion of wanting people to be able to use this safe and effective medicine as they need to.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of my friends that are nurses in this industry as well. The same thing. Wasn't their life. They didn't learn about it in nursing school. They were. Someone said, "Hey, you might go check out this conference," and they went there and they sat there with their jaws to the ground, like, "You've got to be kidding me!" And the majority of the nurses in this industry were like you. And now, they're sharing their wealth and knowledge to their patients, to their families, to their communities, and stuff like that. I had Dr. Bregman on and talking about mental health and depression, and he felt it was something that was in his genes, passed down from his grandfather to his father to
absolutely 100%. I agree.
So this was you, or I didn't know if it came on after being in the Marines or stuff.
No,
Okay.
I believe wholeheartedly that there's a genetic component to it. And so, the human experience is we are wired the way we're wired, and it's all very complex, and genetic contribution is there for sure. And so I truly believe that. Yeah.
And I love how you thought, because I've gone through one depression with grief, with Corinne passing, and people say, people always say, I'm proud of what you've done. And my therapy, and I have other friends that I've met now that have lost their spouse. I just, a doctor yesterday actually gave me a list of the top things that people go through that add stress and sickness in their life. The number one thing on that was losing a spouse, divorce. And then it went down the list of losing a job, being sick, being arrested. I'm glad I wasn't on that one, and it just list went on, and they said, add your numbers up, and it gave you a graph. And if you were in this category, you had 80% of a disease taking over your body, 60%, 50%, 40%.
Yeah.
And, when I went through this and hearing you speak about this, sleep is important, but exercise, huge. What food I put in my body, like I said, I have friends.
Foods are drugs. Foods are drugs. I mean, we're a biochemical machine. What goes in has an effect on all of those chemicals. Totally. So it just makes sense.
And so I applaud you for seeing that and going, okay, if I don't get out and do some exercise, if I don't get some sunlight, being around good people, you can go deep, go down that rabbit hole. And I'm glad I didn't, because I've met people now, friends that have lost their spouse, and they went the opposite way, from overeating, adding more depression, drinking,
just
abusing,
cycles, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
So at what age? So it was before the Marines, and then after the Marines. Is that when you incorporated, or what was it your I would say gal, excuse me, your the woman that you're working with up north, is that what got you your mindset of like, hey, let me try to add this arsenal to my
as soon as when I started to work in her company, and I really dove into sort of CBD and cannabis in general, I really did I've done such a deep dive, and that's why I'm in the master's program, because I just wanted to know as much as I possibly could about it. I don't do anything halfway. So if I'm in, I'm in.
Me
right?
Too,
yeah. Whether it's friendships or learning or whatever it might be, I'm 100% in.
Good.
So as soon as I started to add, that CBD component, that sort of that cannabidiol, that side of the cannabis plant, I was just amazed at sort of the positive effect that had. I already had cobbled together this methodology that worked for me to relieve my depression, all of the things that I needed to do. but it requires being in a very set routine. And well, we know what happens with routine, especially when it comes to, what we've been through with
Yep.
the pandemic. Your routine can get upset. And when that happens, well, that depression, if I don't have that routine, that depression can come back. And so having that cannabis additive really, really helped to keep me on an even keel. Even though things shifted and dropped away from my routine, I was able to compensate, utilizing cannabis and keep me stable until I could get that piece figured out. Like exercise, right? I'm a CrossFitter. I need to go to a CrossFit gym.
Is it when you're talking about routine and what works for you? And I love how you said what works for me, because that's the way I always talk, what works for me.
Right.
I got up,
could be different than what works for me.
I had a 11 o'clock call, and I said, okay, I got up early. I was going to go for a quick ride or a run.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do, start doing emails. The phone starts ringing, and I'm like, okay, 9 o'clock. I can get back here for my 11 o'clock showered up. Boom, 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 boom. 10:45. Had my call, and I said, okay, I have a few hours before I meet with Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Emails started coming, this and that. And I finally said, I'm going to go for a run. So I went for a quick run and came back, jumped in the shower. And now I'm here, you know what? And I feel great, because I could have said, okay, I'll do it later.
That's it. That's it. It's similar, whether it's exercise or, for me, meditation is a key component of what I do.
Yeah.
If I don't do that first thing in the morning, the likelihood that I'm going to find that space that in my head in the morning, I'm saying, hey, you know what, John, I'm going to meditate tonight at like 5 o'clock, because I know I have a space. Yeah. And it's exactly like you said, emails, call comes in, 5 o'clock comes and goes, and then I've missed that moment, which is a key component of keeping me on an even keel. Not even on an even keel, just in this amazing life that I have.
Oh, totally. And when you get into it, for our listeners, and I hope you're all addicted to exercise and getting out as I am as Mark, because it really makes, you say meditation, probably about a month ago, and I don't know if I shared this with the community. I did a 5-day silent retreat. No phone, no internet, no music. And it wasn't, I did one right after Corinne passed. And and that was a 2.5 day. This was 5-day, and it wasn't in person. It was on video, but it was 5-day. Like, you shut everything down. You eat in silent. We're all guilty of this, eating with our phone, eating with our internet,
absolutely,
emails, TV, and this is like this. And I was falling asleep at 8:30. No TV, no music, no nothing. Yeah. I'd be up at 4 o'clock and stretch, and we do the thing, and I loved it. And my stress went back up I think on Tuesday when I had to or Wednesday when I had to turn my phone back on, and emails, ding, 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 ding. So if you can get on a routine of meditation, it really, and it's hard at first, but you get into the thing, and there's times you're in it, and then
it's a routine.
Start thinking about everything else. And there were days I thought about work. Oh my God, I have to call Mark. I have to do this. I have to do that. And so in my mind, I'm meditating here. This side, I'm writing down my notes of what I'm doing here too. So anyway, we could talk about our personal stuff all day here. For our listeners that probably don't want to hear all of our personal stuff, like but what would you, and I know it's, what works for you, as you were saying, and I love that.
Right.
You mentioned. What are you finding? Because cannabis is not for everybody. Sometimes different formulations of too much THC, too much CBD can bring on.
If you suffer from depression, you suffer from depression, John. When we coach people and we're talking to them about it, one of the things we do is we look for depression. We ask them about their depression, because with depression, you don't want to have too much THC, because THC has, this quality that may increase the depression. So you may want to stay away from that. So we help people kind of figure that out. But you're right. It's not going to work for everybody.
Yeah. But also too, of the, combining with lack of sleep,
Mm-hmm.
food you're eating, maybe
Mm-hmm.
alcohol, all these things. And I think,
Oh yeah.
how you found the niche which works for you. And
Yeah.
is this something that you still struggle with on a daily basis, or are you kind of
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. Because, I mean, especially now with all of the changes that have had to be dealt with in the pandemic, sure,
yeah,
routine and all of the regular things that you do are kind of upset. I talk about it in the book. Here's the bottom line, John. Just if you love yourself, you'll give yourself that break. We are our harshest critics. We really are.
100%.
Who do we talk to the most?
Yeah.
We talk to ourselves the most,
Yeah.
right? From the moment we wake up all the way through, even when we're sleeping, we're having interaction with ourselves, and we're very harsh on ourselves. My point in the book was, give yourself a break. Understand that if you don't, if you hadn't have had an opportunity to run today, that's okay. You can get back to it tomorrow. It's when we are so harsh on ourselves that we won't get back to it, right? We feel like we failed. Well, okay, I've failed. Then I might as well not even try it again tomorrow. It's okay. Do it tomorrow, and you're back on track just like that.
Be easy on yourself, and I'm
love
guilty
yourself.
of that. Yeah, love yourself.
Love yourself. You're amazing. You're absolutely amazing, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that keeps me going. Hearing that, but getting out. I've been very fortunate. One, with the pandemic, but two, with Corinne's passing. The weather's been nice. I think for 3 years. I can't think of the back, because I was still getting out and doing those things.
It's huge.
I when Corinne passed, I didn't use any cannabis because I didn't want my mind to overly think everything. And so,
right.
I go through stages. Where one stage was age 20 to 46 and trying to cannabis, and then one day I said, Corinne and I were in this industry. I said, you mind if I try? She goes, yeah. And so she enjoyed it because she knew the day was over.
Yeah.
She knew the day was over. And, but when Corinne passed, I didn't use any for anything. I didn't, I needed my mind for me, I didn't need my mind to wander, meaning overly think everything. I was already overly thinking. But now I use it for sleep.
Yeah.
And how are you using? I use tinctures.
I am the same way, man.
Yeah.
I am using it for sleep, and I am using edibles. I'm a real fan of edibles. I like that 11-hydroxy THC, which is a metabolite.
Okay.
When you eat it, that's what it converts to.
Yeah.
And I like that. For me, that works really well. I'm not really a smoker.
Yeah.
I mean, on occasion I will, just before bed, maybe have a little, but I'm not really a smoker. It just does, everybody has their thing. And so for me, an edible is just a much, much better way for me. And it's for sleep.
What do you say for the listeners that are on here that are cannabis naive, brand new, going through, searching the internet, and a lot of our followers search and say, I said, how'd you find us? Google depression and cannabis, bipolar and cannabis, mental illness cannabis, and stuff like this pops up. It's not a one size fits all, and I'm a big fan of. I always say a medical professional should be involved. What works for me may not work for you. What works for you may not work for Susie down the street.
Right.
We look at age and weight and the current health conditions, sensitivities, and drug-to-drug interactions. Can you talk about
drug-to-drug interactions?
Being a nurse and having experienced depression, how important that is to have a medical professional be involved, but also in combination of alcohol and pharmaceuticals, as well as cannabis and pharmaceuticals. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so you're right. You really want to be working with a healthcare professional who's been trained, who understands, the interaction of cannabis with the human person themselves. How it's metabolized, how it works in the body, but also that drug-to-drug interaction. There's a lot of talk about that, a lot of focus on it. and honestly, it's not as dire as they make it out to be. There are a lot of other things, foods included, that interact with drugs in a much worse capacity. Cannabis is a very, very safe profile, although there are specific drugs that you want to be very acutely aware of. And so you want to work with a healthcare professional. And here's the thing: it's not like a traditional pharmaceutical experience, like where you just take it and it either works or it doesn't, and you go back to the doc in 2 weeks. It's a matter of everybody is different, and you need to be patient and work over time with someone to get you to a point to where you have what works for you.
Yeah.
And once you reach that sweet spot, and for people, it could take several months to get to the point where they're at that sweet spot of exactly, taking the right dose at the right time of day, in the right product, gets them to the result that they want. And I will say, the top three that people are looking for, they're looking for pain relief, they're looking for a decrease in anxiety, and they're looking to sleep better.
Totally.
I mean, the sleep thing is really, that to me is probably number one.
Yeah.
But why don't you sleep? Because you're in pain, you have anxiety. So
it's
cannabis
a domino
is all
effect.
about all of those, right?
Yeah. I mean, it is a domino effect, you lose sleep, next day you're groggy, you're cranky, you maybe have some, extra cups of coffee, you start eating your stuff that you're not used to, and then your body is off and your mind's off. And again,
it's all tied in together.
Yeah. Do you see patients still So what can you share, with some of our listeners? I'll give you plugs before the show's over on how they can find you. But what do you generally go do with your patients? They come to you for mental disorders, depression, anxiety.
It's really it really is. We have a real in-depth intake form. So when we're going to work with someone, there's an intake form so that we get to know exactly, what their goals are. And, when we're in the coaching session and we're working with someone, the first thing that we say is, listen, this is about you. This is about empowering you to make the best choices that you can make for yourself. So we're really about education, and that's always been the role of the nurse anyway. It's always about educating the client so that they can make choices that are right for them. And so we bring to bear all of the experiences that we've had with people over the course of time, all of the knowledge and education that we have, and we kind of fuse it together and help them to make the choice for themselves.
And are you doing it where they're titrating completely off their medications, if they're on medications, and having cannabis, or are you combining?
You know what? It's going to be different for everybody. I mean, some people have a goal of saying, listen, I just want to be off pharmaceuticals, and we'll work with them and their physician on how to actually make that a reality if that's what their goal is. But we're not averse to saying, hey, listen, you know what? If this is working for you and we can add this, which will help this work maybe a little bit better for you, why not? I tell a story, John. I was in Tel Aviv, Israel, and Israel, if for the listeners, if they don't know, almost all of the major research that's been done over the last 50 years has come out of Israel or been tied to Israel in some way. And so I was at this research conference, and I'm with the top researchers in the world that are working with cannabis and how to use it as a medicine. And, one of the researchers made a statement that sits with me today, and I just repeat this as often as I can. And the researcher said, listen, it's not that cannabis is the best pain reliever, or that it's the best at relieving anxiety, or it's the best for sleep. It's not that it's the best in class in any of those areas, but what the magic is that it has such a positive effect in all of those areas at once, that it allows the lifting up of that person so that they can start to participate in the other activities of their lives that have a positive effect. They can start to exercise again. They can start to interact with their family members and friends. It's that whole uplifting that is just the magic of cannabis.
You saying that, I'm visualizing woman, a senior citizen, lived in a retirement community that Corinne and I worked with, and she and her family thanked us. They said, her husband passed away, and so she was staying up in her apartment at this retirement community. And we came in and did a presentation there with a doctor, and so he guided a lot of patients. But she said, and her kids said, it allowed mom to leave her room because she was depressed and come back. And they called it in the population, is what they called it. But to interact with their friends again, and she felt
we're social animals, right? That's the biggest piece of this pandemic that people have suffered with, is not interacting with other people.
It's so seeing people have results, and everyone's different. And again, this is not for everybody. And I want our listeners, this is not the golden pill, the golden ticket. I'm a broken record when it comes to that. But like Mark, I've seen this work. I've seen it not work. I've seen it not work with my wife. And people ask, how do you continue on? Pancreatic cancer was just a different breed. I mean, we did 3 blood tests. They all came back negative. And our doctors, you guys are our star pupil patients, Corinne, you're perfect health. And so how we found it was with a ultrasound. But so to me, it didn't say, then not saving a life meant it didn't work. But talking to all the patients that contacted me, not all of them, but people who contacted, said, John, it worked for us. You allowed us to get out of the hospital and be with our family. You allowed us to get off the medications. You allowed my mother to get out of the room after my father passed, and come down. And so it does. And so, yes, Israel is leading the way. I hope the United States, it's like number 5, 6, 7, or 8 on that.
Listen, we could have been in the lead. We could have been in the lead. Yeah. We just haven't had the legal structure to allow us to actually do the research. So, hey, hopefully,
well, it's slowly but surely
today, babe.
We're at 35 states right now. 35 states right now legalized and in some form, and 15 recreational, I think, after this last election too. So, but I think bringing down the barriers, the stigmas that as you were talking about, bringing the barriers down, the stigmas of this plant, that it is, beneficial in one way or another. If it's just as a topical for arthritic patients or patients with pain, to helping with sleep, to helping with depression, anxiety, helping cancer. I've talked about this numerous times on the show when I'll present, and I'll put a big roll of duct tape on the slide projector behind me, and people are looking at me going, you have the wrong slide up there. And I say, actually, I have it up there because people ask me, does it work for this? Does it work for that? And I said, I don't want to say it's like duct tape with 1,000,001 uses, but when you really get down to it, my first conference was back in, I think, 2011. It was Mary Lynn Mathery, ML, who runs and owns Patients at a Time. But I remember sitting there in that audience and hearing doctors and researchers from all over the world and of their life studies. As one Italian doctor spoke about diabetes and cannabis. And I remember looking at Corinne, and a tear went down my face going, this is what my father had. And my father was a healthy diabetic, and I'm just thinking, God, could this have helped him? And then another one spoke about, of course, cancer, all types, depression, and the list goes on, seizure disorders, and so hopefully, and it's not for everyone, just like chemo is not for everyone, but chemo, I have, family members that are alive because of chemo radiation. And so I never want to tell anybody, stop doing this, do this. Because this plant, and it does go work well with each other. And do you get this? Because I get this a lot. If this doesn't work, then we'll try cannabis. Do you get that with your patients?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So there'll be people who go traditional medicine, which of course, we've all been, that's what we grew up with. So that's what we know and we feel comfortable with, and people will try that. And so what we do is we get people when they've lost hope.
Yeah.
And so, my partner Sherry and I at the Green Nurse, we say we're all about getting you high. And we use that acronym, right? Because it's it's a stigmatized word, right? So what we're meaning is that we're going to give you hope and inspiration for growth and healing. That's our acronym for high. And that's so when we get people, they've tried everything and they just haven't had any success. I have a friend who has ulcerative colitis, and she's suffered for a very long time. She's tried all of the traditional treatments. She's even on several new biologics that she's failed through the protocol. And I was able to consult with her in within a month of beginning with cannabis protocol. She is like night and day.
Wow.
And so I've seen this work in specific instances. And it usually is people who have just lost hope. They've tried everything else, and I'm a firm believer in a lot of Western medicine. I'm just not a firm believer in blocking the door on other things that could possibly work.
Isn't that the nicest feeling when people come back to you and go, oh my gosh, I have friends from high school that call me up and they'll say, hey, I want to thank you. My mom listened to you over us. We've been trying to get her to try this for years, but for some reason, she talked to your mom at church, and next thing you know, she's calling you and she listens to you. She didn't listen to me and my brothers, but she listened to you, and she's doing extremely well. And sometimes it takes an outsider, because I get a lot of people that say, how can I break this ice with my mom or my dad or my family member? And say, sometimes it's if they hear someone else's story.
Yeah. Well, think about it, John.
I'll try that.
Your mom knows you as her boy, as her little boy, right?
With the halo over my head.
That's right. So that's who she knows you to be, right? So it's not you personally. It's just who you are for her.
Yeah.
She hears it from somebody else. It's a totally new experience and a new person that says, hey, you should try this. And she's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's funny, that story, and I want to get onto your book as well as your product line and stuff like that.
Sure.
But, one day, I always say good morning, good night to my mom. And one day, I was talking to Corinne, and my mom and I were talking, and I was on speaker, and my mom said, hey, all her girlfriends are using cannabis for sleep or arthritis. Yeah. My mom said, does this really work for sleep? And I said, yeah. And she goes, and pains, she's a ex-tennis player. She goes, my shoulder. And she goes, does it work for pain too? I said, yeah. She goes, I've been using a cannabis product every night before bed. And I was silent. And Corinne hits me. She's like, be supportive. And I'm like, yes, it works. She goes, after dad passed, I might have tried that for sleep. And I said, oh, so she's like, I'm able to raise my arm. I'm not hurting. 3 months later, my brother says, mom's using cannabis? 3 months later. Yeah. So talk about, she trusted me.
She trusted you.
Trusted my brother, but it was funny that it took 3 months for her to say, hey, by the way, I'm using a cannabis product, which I never thought. That's the last person I thought. And I'm so happy she is, because, she's 83. She walks every day. She can go, she needs to go drive 6 hours to go see my brother. I feel 100% confident for doing that, because she's still active, where she has other friends that are 80, 83, and they're like 183,
Right.
So,
right.
But,
yeah.
You do a lot in this industry, and your name, funny. My friend Beth Doss, I think are you guys working with together? Are you on a committee with Dr. Tischler as well?
I am.
Yeah. So I was telling her that I was. She goes, Mark is everywhere now, and I said, I know. So she was.
I get around, man. I get around.
So she said, I'm excited to see your interview, and so. But you do a lot, and not only you're an author, but you have a product line too. Can you talk about it? It's Nurse Mark CBD.
Yeah. So when I spent a year just really getting deep in, at the end of that year, I knew that I had specific products that specific formulations that I wanted to put together. So I worked with a pharmacist, doctor of pharmacy, and we came up with what I think is the best tasting CBD oil in the world. I think it's awesome. So I've had that product line for a year. And right now I'm working on formulating, because, you learn a lot over the course of time, especially in the deep dive and being in this master's program, in being exposed to some amazing, wonderful people that I just learned from. You know, my success is not my success, John, to be honest with you. All the success I had in the last business for 30 years, it wasn't me. It was all the people that I surrounded myself with, right? And so I've surrounded myself with some great people like you and other people in the industry that I learn from every day. I'm working with my current partner, Sherry Tuckus. She and I, very specific on this new product line that we're formulating that we hope to have out in the next 60 days. And we're working with a fantastic company that's going to manufacture and put it together.
Cool.
All of the whole thing, all the way through. We know the growers, we know the processors, we know everything all the way through. So we're excited to have that product line. But I have a great product line that has been out for a year, and I've had great success with it.
Oh, so these are two separate.
Two separate product lines. I'm going to merge mine into it. I'm taking what I have.
Yeah.
The formulations, the proprietary blends of oils, which really have a lot to do with why the taste profile is so good. I'm going to take those and merge them together in this new product line is very intentional. Cool. Very, very intentional.
Are you finding that this was designed because of what you personally went through with depression? And are you?
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with mood and combining with other things that have been in the space of, supplements that have worked, like, a lot of the CBD products that are out there for sleep, for instance, will be a blend that has melatonin with it, right? Because we know that melatonin is what the body naturally produces. It's sleep inducing. And so you can take melatonin on its own, or you can combine it with CBD. Well, we have, a certain amount in the blend that's going to really be good for sleep. So we have a CBD product that's just simply for sleep. So it's those types of things that we're combining other things that are really been shown to be effective for certain other things, right? Some uplifting, some sleep inducing.
Yeah. In your practice, do you stand out as working with a bunch of different elements, or are you a niche and say, I work with like Dr. Bregman, he said, I like the depression and the bipolar patients because I live it and I know the road. And so people come to Corinne and I here at United Patient Group, and they come because we've seen it. As a health advocate, I've been on both sides of helping patients. I've been on the side of helping Corinne's father, helping Corinne as a caregiver. And so I know what questions to ask, what to avoid. Right. So that's kind of the niche on that end. And so is that a niche you have?
My affinity is going to be for folks who are having, some issues with anxiety and depression. I mean, that's really going to be my affinity, what I really love to do. But you know what? I find that I work with all different patients, different types, whether it's pain and other things that they're dealing with. Ultimately, it all has to do with mental health, because if you're physically suffering, it's going to affect your sleep, and it's going to affect your ability to do things that you want to do. And that's going to lead to, a depressed state, right? So it's all woven together. So I don't think that I have a specific profile of which I will work with. It's across the board, really.
But if they come with you, that's something that you have personally.
Oh yeah. I mean, for someone who has depression, who has anxiety, they know that because I'm out there, I wrote the book. I mean, and I talk about it incessantly because I think that it needs to be talked about. So they're going to feel more comfortable. It's always better if you're with somebody who has had the experience that you've had.
But I also think you coming at them, turning to you and saying, oh my God, if Mark can do this, if I can get out of here, you can tell that he's happy.
Yeah. Ecstatic. Listen, I've had great success in my life despite being, having depression and mood disorders. As a matter of fact, there are things that have happened in my life that would not have happened if I hadn't been wired this way, right? Yeah. So I'm a lot more empathetic and compassionate with people because of the experiences that I've had myself.
Isn't that funny how life works like that? You kind of, with life experiences, I look at pictures, that business pictures, that Corinne and I took together, being at a conference, and I look at that and I'm like, I don't know that guy anymore. I don't know him anymore.
Right.
I mean, what I was
I know.
To where, and everything I've been through, I'm like, wow. I mean, I look at the screen right now and it's like, I'm not that same person anymore.
Who is this guy?
Who is this guy? Who is that guy? And too. So, but well, let's talk about, before we go, love to talk about books, your books, how to find you, as well as how to purchase your products and your upcoming
Absolutely.
Sharing.
Absolutely. So the book is available on Amazon. It is an Amazon #1 bestseller. It's called Absolutely Effing Amazing, Living a Life You Love. Easy to find. Look up Mark Worster, Worster. You'll find it out there. It's an easy read, simple, and got it. It's just, it was so much fun. You
emphasize an easy read. I started laughing. I like easy reads.
It's easy. It's an easy read. You'll get this done. You'll get this done in a day and a half. No problem. So it's not War and Peace. It's a really easy read. And God, it was just so much fun writing the book and sharing my experiences over a long period of time. So there's the book. If you want some high quality CBD products, nursemark.co. Feel free. I'm doing a buy one get one free for until supplies are gone, because I'm moving over to the new formulations in the product line. So it's and that again is probably 60 days. But what I'm really excited about, John, is my new partnership with Sherry. We're at thegreennurse.com, and we are, our goal is to be in all 50 states, helping people get medical cannabis certification, get their cards, and to consult, to coach them as they go through the process of trying to use cannabis as a medicine. That's our goal. And another piece of our business is mentorship for anybody in the healthcare community who's looking to add cannabis to what they do to help people. We're here to mentor that group of individuals. Obviously, nurses are right at the top of the list because Sherry's a nurse, I'm a nurse. We love our nursing community, and our goal is really to be a global organization. That's what our goal is. We want to help people utilize this plant across the globe.
Aren't nurses year after year after year nominated as the most
most trusted
profession?
17 years running, I think 17 or 18 years running. The most trusted healthcare professional. And why not? We tell it like it is. Our job is to educate, right? We pull all of the pieces that everybody wants us to pull. We bring it all together and we say, here are your choices. And here's why you should be looking at these different things. We empower people to make the right choice for themselves.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then you have a great podcast. And that's another thing Mark has a great podcast. And if you haven't tuned in, it is called Nurse Mark Podcast. You can find on his website, nursemark.co as well. I know we've covered a lot here, and we have. And this is the way I wanted to. This is the way I wanted to go.
One last thing, if I can just mention one thing before we pop off here.
No, I was going to have you have closing words anywhere.
Oh, go ahead. Okay, sorry, John.
For our any of our listeners that are going through depression, and especially during this pandemic and mental health, you're not alone. I want to share that with everybody. You're not alone. Have this conversation with Mark, with myself. I'm not a medical professional, but with Mark. But even suicide hotlines are out there, and sometimes it just takes that call for someone to say, "Hey, we've all been there," and it's
a temporary situation.
You know what it is, and I have chills, and I never thought I'd make it out of the grief I went through with Corinne passing. It is,
and I know,
temporary situation. I don't want to say that because I haven't forgotten about Corinne. I miss her.
No, of course not. You never will.
Day.
No.
But that's what I want. If you can talk about that, and then your last thing that you want to throw in there as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, listen, I'm always available, and I have a lot of experience and a lot of connections. I mean, part of the story of my book, I start off with the fact that, in 2011, for a lot of different reasons, number one is just because I'm human and I'm wired for this. I had a gun to my head. I was at that point where it was, do you stay or do you go? And so it's the book is really about how did I get there and how did I get here in this most amazing life? I mean, I have the best life ever.
Awesome.
Ever. Yeah. So that's what the book's about. And so I'm always available to have a chat. I'm always available. And you can get me at Mark at thegreennurse.com, the nursemark.co. Contact info is there. Literally, I am here, absolutely to help people.
And I appreciate that. And you have that same pay it forward attitude that Corinne and I have is, we to help. And I think it's I was on this interview this morning on a radio show, and it's either in your blood or it's not. Same like customer service, in your blood or not, but helping others. And so I know you have that as well.
Yeah.
But everyone take a look at Nurse Mark, nursemark.co. Yes.
I got one last thing I want to tell you, folks. Listen, Sherry and I, every morning, 5 days a week, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know for West Coast that's early, but if you're up, we do a 15-minute daily dose.
Oh,
so
cool.
It's a daily dose of AFA. And we are having such a ball doing it. It's 15 minutes. It's a great way to start your day. We include a little bit of cannabis education. We talk about, I do this thing.
Is it a podcast or what is the AFA?
It's a live stream on Facebook and YouTube.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 5 days a week. Sherry and I are doing this 15-minute thing, and we love it. And you know what? You're going to love it too. And it's just so much fun.
And is that on your personal Facebook page, or is it the?
It's on the Green Nurse page. It's on Nurse Mark page, and it's on the Green Nurse YouTube channel. So you can't miss it. I do that as part of it. I talk about what I do. I do this daily love thing. So I do this text thing that. Every day I get up and I do a reading, because I do, some spiritual readings and some inspirational readings every day as part of my routine. Well, I share those via an audio clip, and that audio clip goes out via text. And so if you want to sign up and get this audio clip every day, I do it 7 days a week. I've done it since March.
Awesome.
All you got to do is text AFA love to 484848. That's AFA love.
AFA. So
AFA love.
Alpha
Frank Alpha
love.
Lima Oscar Victor Edward.
And it's
484848. And that'll sign you up. Hey, you can hit stop anytime you want. But
love it.
It's great. Anyway, cool. John.
And so what about the West Coast people are probably still sawing Z's when you and Sherry are up?
Set your phone to stun. Oh yeah, that.
No, but it is still on.
It's on there, right? Oh yeah, it's on there. You can check it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, always a pleasure, man. And you look great. You're shining. You're down in Florida right now, and you guys are going back and forth, or what are you doing?
Yeah. I'm between Massachusetts and Florida for now, but man, I'm telling you. As soon as this pandemic's done, worldwide, baby.
I think everyone's gonna. I think the world's will do well. The world's economy. I think my European friends are saying we're gonna get the hell out of there, come to the States. Our state friends are saying we're gonna get the hell out of here and go over to Europe.
It's gonna be
wherever.
Fabulous.
And so, health and safety and love to you and your bride and have a great one too. Huh?
Love to you and yours too, my friend. Thanks.
Thank you again, everyone. Nurse Mark, John Malanke, United Patients Group, be informed and be well, and we'll see you all soon. Have a great day. See you, Mark.
See you, John.
Hey everybody, John Malanka with United Patients Group. Be informed and be well. This segment is brought to you by Aspen Green. Aspen Green is just a handful of USDA, that's right, USDA certified organic hemp and CBD brands. And all of its hemp is grown from the perfect topography and climate found in Colorado. It is a family-owned business and is deeply committed to the science of providing only the purest hemp and CBD products for the best results and most beneficial experience. Its mission is to bring the therapeutic value of pure, organic hemp and CBD to people who seek supplemental relief through the use of healthy, natural products. Aspen Green is free from toxins and runs up to 8 different lab tests from bona fide third-party labs throughout its product line. It holds in high regard 3 foundational principles that guide every aspect of their business, actions, and interactions with their customers, partners, as well as their community. These are quality, integrity, and transparency. These will always remain at the hearts of their efforts to bring their beneficial products to consumers. Check out why purity matters at aspengreen.com and follow them on social channels at Aspen Green CBD. Use promo code UPGCBD for 20% off. Again, UPGCBD for 20% off at aspengreen.com.